Well, good evening, everybody. This is Mason Sims, and thank you for tuning in to another episode this evening. So, we actually have two guests tonight. The first one being Mr. Mark Lynch. He is the current owner of Jeff Lynch Appliances over in Greenville, and he is challenging incumbent Lindsey Graham for the United States Senator position in the upcoming June primary of next year. So, we'll have the opportunity to hear what Mr. Lynch has to say and his plans for our state and country once elected. Next, we have Mr. Jeff Davis. He is the current chairman for the Greenville County Republican Party. This will actually be, I believe, his second time because he took some time away to be the state EC, but now he is reelected again for chairman. So we'll hear some of his thoughts on the upcoming state election and also ways of how to get grassroots involved in order to get the results that we want in upcoming elections, and also just how to simply just grow the party. So again, my name is Mason Sims, and let's get started. Well, good evening, everybody. With me today, I have Jeff Davis. He has been reelected as chairman for the Greenville County Republican Party. And Jeff, thanks for joining us this evening.
My pleasure, Mason. Enjoy. Glad to be on with you, buddy.
Absolutely, and I'm sure the people that are involved in the politics throughout the state are pretty familiar with you. But those who, I guess, don't really keep up as much, just feel free to tell us about yourself.
Well, again, my name is Jeff Davis. I ran for chair for Greenville County in 2021, and there was a little bit of a little I guess a little fraud that went on in the old days, as we've seen in some other counties in the 25 reorg down in Charleston and some other issues. But I was elected chairman. Did that for 2 years. My first vice chair was Yvonne Julian. Yvonne replaced me as chair in the 23 term. I was the state executive committeeman. Hoping to go down to Columbia and represent Greenville County down there. And Drew McKissick won't let me come into the meetings. So there's not much of a point of being the state executive committeeman if you can't come to the meetings. So Yvonne and I have switched spaces. She's going to be our state EC, and I'll be the chairman again for the next 2 years. And we're really excited about it, and we're looking forward to the next exciting 2 years.
Yeah. So how did your reorg go? Did it go the way you wanted, or you feel like it could have gone better?
I think it went perfect. This was actually, strangely enough, this is the first reorg we actually managed ourselves because, as you may recall, in 2023, one of the new rules that Drew McKissick forced through in a special called convention on July 30th of 2022 gave the state executive committee the authority to essentially take over a county if they wanted to. And in our instance, they didn't take over our county; they took over our reorg process. So even though I feel like, or we felt like it was a violation of state law, we, instead of just, I think you can't always, cry in your cereal. You got to find a way to kind of beat them at their own game. So in 23, we just said, okay, we'll play by your rules, and we outnumbered them, and then we beat them pretty bad in 23. And then in 24, they gave us the biggest Christmas gift on the planet. They actually, the Rhinos, or the old establishment, boycotted reorg. So, I think a part of it, we would substantially, the best chance they would have had to have ever beat us would have been 2 years ago when the state party was running it, when they gave it back to the same people who had cheated in 2021. But, if they're, for our instance, there's probably, I would say, 200 or 300 of them, Rhino or Rhino establishment, old guard, that would have come. And had they come to reorg, I mean, it would have just given us and come to the county convention would have been $20 extra a piece. So I don't think they want us to get the extra $6,000 and use it against them in this next 2 years. So we were happy they stepped aside, and we'll just grow it all ourselves, and that's going to be really exciting.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's good that it went well, and I saw you had Steve Bannon and Nancy Mace there. It seemed like you had a lot of good guests there.
Yeah, our the convention went perfectly. Everything from the opening color guard to the final votes at the end. So we actually the keynote speaker was, as you noted, Steve Bannon. We did have Nancy Mace opened up for us, and then we had Curtis Loftus. So then we just did our elections. Myself for chair, Vaughn for state EC, and Mike Voden for first vice chair. And we didn't even have competition in that. So it was a simple nomination and second process for each of us. And then since there was nobody else nominated, nominated. It was by acclamation, and then we elected our state delegates by ballot, as you should do. And then I think we did do one small rule change. We adjusted our rules. I think there was a small minor adjustment, and then just reordering it. What we'll probably do over the next 2 years is really kind of hone down into our Greenville GCRP rules, and then just try to clean up some things. So, some counties don't even have county rules. Some counties have antiquated rules, and as you know, Mason, the rules, written in the old days are to be interpreted, multiple ways, and I think they actually do that on purpose. So what we want to do is clarify exactly what the rules mean. As you would do, as we would see I'm a lawyer, tax attorney, CPA. You would see an explanation of why the rule is a certain way, and then and clean it up for that. So that's what we're going to do in the next 2 years as well. So.
And yeah, one thing too I wanted to mention is I saw that the state senate had voted or recommended to remove Curtis Loftus, and I was curious what your thoughts were on that. Just at least from what I'm hearing in my county, that people are very upset with how our state senator had voted, and just the overall situation.
I think your state senator Rex Rice and Cash over there voted that way. I don't know if Cash is actually in Pickens or not, but yeah, I think a lot of people are upset about it. We put out from the Greenville County Republican Party a press release even before that we were in full support of Curtis Loftus. We remain in full support of Curtis Loftus, and I think it was we termed it a railroading. And 33-8, and even the 8 that voted in favor or voted not to go forward with that resolution, even none of them really even spoke up for him. So I think it was more confirmation of what we've been saying, is that our legislators are not listening to the people. So I think Curtis, and I think everybody widely believes that Curtis Loftus is the most popular elected official in this state. He does talk to both sides. He talks to everybody, which is great. No problem in that respect. But to sit there and try to blame a guy that had really no blame in the whole process is infuriated and really motivated the grassroots. So I hated to see Curtis go through that, but if it's woken people up to the fact that our legislators are not listening to what their citizens are telling them, and the way I've tried to equate it, just from a commonsensical point, we've had 2 people resign over this. Ekstrom resigned as the comptroller general, and then I think the auditor is gone as well. Why are you trying to blame the banker, Curtis Loftus' treasurer's position? Why are you trying to blame him when his responsibility is to manage, the assets which he has in those bank accounts and those investment accounts? And to me, it's an equivalent of for an individual. It's like blaming your investment advisor if your CPA tax attorney does something wrong in your tax return. It makes no sense. And even Ekstrom, I think, has taken responsibility for the 3.5 billion original thing. And I just, what is Curtis Loftus's fault in any of this? I don't see it. I don't see it as a tax attorney, CPA, and I will tell you, and we'll put out a story about it. But one of the state senators, actually a new state senator out of a Democrat out of Charleston, he literally read off and quoted page 9 of that report from the independent CPAs, which cost the state taxpayers $3 million, and called it a false journal entry. And the word false is not in that report. And it's a really nice short 10-minute clip, even shorter for the part where that state senator was saying that. But I mean, it's shocking to me that they are literally just trying to tarnish his name. And if you ask me, I think he's going to be kind of Teflon, and he's going to come back stronger than ever. So I could not be more proud of him for running for reelection, and quite frankly, my text to him would be, "Why don't you run for governor?" So I think it'd be even better. But we got to have a good treasurer too, because it's an important position.
Yeah, the matchup for governor doesn't look very strong.
It's going to be interesting. It's I'm not a fan of Alan Wilson, Pamela Vett, or Josh Cambrell, so you kind of left with what's left over. But I do think a Nancy Mace will shake things up if that's what we need. I do think we need to shake some things up in this state, and we'll see who ends up filing and who ends up running. I don't think anybody's officially announced as of yet, so we'll just see where it goes. But I'm excited about Curtis Loftus running for reelection. I'm excited about David Pasco if he ends up running for attorney general. I think we do need somebody that will run on a crime and punishment platform and really go after the legislature. I think there's way too much corruption going on down there, and I think if we have a governor that's going to shake some things up, it might give us some hope over the next 4 years. So we'll see.
Is there anything that you're looking to seek in the near future as far as elected positions go?
In regards to who?
I just meant like for chairman or attorney general. Are you looking to do something like that in the future?
Oh, me? I mean, I tell you what, we got Nirvana up here in Greenville. I mean, we're 100%. I would say we're 98% MAGA America first. With our caucus here, we got great friends right next door where you are in Pickens. Anderson Oconee was able to take the party back over there. As you know, Spartanburg was a huge win. 57 delegates over there. Frank Tiller and Becky McLaughlin, what those guys and their team has done in Spartanburg is really exciting. And obviously, we got a lot of friends over in York, and and what Larry Barnett and Scott Anderson have done over there to kind of keep the establishment and the Rhino establishment out. And then we got friends all across the state. So what we're looking to do is really over the next 2 years. I mean, there's a possibility we can take out Drew McKissick, but if as you've probably heard some other people talk about, and I saw earlier that maybe you interviewed Lauren Martell, she probably told you what they did in Beaufort and told you what they did in Charleston and how they kind of ramrodded through. I don't know how you have a competitive election for chair and executive committeeman, and you take it by a voice vote. That's just it's just especially even if there was just 10% of the people, and from what I've heard and even the recordings I've heard, I mean they our side, the MAGA America First side, seem to have the majority from the voice vote, but then you've got a temporary president or permanent president that's calling balls and strikes, and it always seems to go the establishment's way. So it's probably, in my opinion, something illegal, criminal, however you want to do it. I mean, you're hearing constantly, even now on the national level, using the RICO statutes, the racketeering. So, and in racketeering, each individual piece may not be illegal, but when you put it all together and see what they're trying to achieve, it then becomes a crime. And that's how they broke up the criminal, the mafia syndicates of the old days. And I think if you look at what's going on now, I mean, it's a pretty much a syndicate of what's happening. This group is helping this group, which is helping this group. Even with the race for state chairman or the delegates, I mean, what has gone on? Drew McKissick went out there and got a bunch of legislators to come out and bring people out. And they made that appeal up here in Greenville too. None of them did. We had some legislators come out, but they were friendly with us. But it's just it becomes a very questionable process, and we've known about this. This has been going on for decades. But what they do is they just hope we end up quitting, and I don't think we're quitting. So we've been here in Greenville fighting for 4 years, and we obviously got another 2 years, which is going to be really exciting, and we're teaching more people about the reorg process. And our goal, and part of our goal should have been this year, and is in 2027, we need to walk into that convention with 75% of the delegates, and then you can't be cheated. You can't go in there with 50% plus one because you can't get a fair shake. But if you go in there with 75%, and for every 3 people they got 1, it will be pretty obvious, and that's what we've got to do. So in the next 2 years, we're going to take a keen focus on some of the smaller counties, maybe go after some of the bigger counties. Richland is something that's way on my chart. I mean, that's ground zero for the establishment, if you will. And we need to get into those counties and find the MAGA America First Trump supporters and teach them about reorg and get them out, just like we were able to do here in the 4th congressional district with Spartanburg next door to us. So, and you guys did great over in Pickens, and I'm so excited about everything that's going on. So it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, and I've noticed too that's past state convention. A lot of these small counties, like you had mentioned, they're like 100% for Drew McKissick. So I wonder if they have been informed of everything that's been going on.
I think some of them know. I think some of them just choose to prefer to go along to get along. I think some of them just prefer, I mean, they just want to make sure they get their invitation to the governor's, Christmas party. And I'm like, that is not how we're going to grow this party. I mean, in reality, we'll have a convention, on May 3rd, 943 delegates and 943 alternates. I don't even think they're letting guests in. I mean, as you know, we live streamed or streamed our convention. It was live streamed on Real America's Voice, and when we put the recording out there, and we let guests come in, we let the press come in. Anybody that wants to come, it's fantastic. But because we have nothing to hide. The state party, I think, has stuff to hide, so they don't want to let any guest in there, and they're very even selective on the press that they let in. So we believe in what Donald Trump teaches, which is also radical transparency. So we're going to be as transparent as we can. We want as many people to learn about it, because my belief has always been that the citizens of the state of South Carolina are good, hardworking, God-fearing conservatives. The problem is our legislators. They do not represent the people. And I think this fiasco that went on Monday night, railroading of Curtis Loftus, and we live streamed it. I mean, we had it up for 10 hours and 15 minutes. We were giving commentary as part of the podcast piece of it, and just showing. And it was eye opening for a lot of people. I think, I'm a big believer in God's plan and God's timing. And I think this was part of God's plan to actually show and wake up the citizens of the state. And I talked to a radio host today, and I said, our main thing is to make sure. I mean, the Senate is not up for reelection until 2028, and our main thing and our main goal needs to be, let's not forget what happened this past Monday. We have got to remember it. We've got to focus on it. And quite frankly, I've already bought the web domain firedgrooms.com. So I mean, we'll put it out as fast as we can. But we got to get that stuff out there, and we got to let people know. I mean, my joke is, and you've probably heard me say it before, I don't like 95% of the legislators we got down there, and I can't tell you the 5% I like. You know, I do like Curtis Loftus, but but I mean, it's a moving target, and they were given permission. You're going to have a hard time in your district if you vote against Curtis Loftus, so we'll give you permission to vote in favor of him. But I'm like, it was a railroading. I mean, those first, Grooms got up there, and then Goldfinch got up, and then I was like, this is just incredible to hear how they were going after him like that, and then Uh, the treasurer's, his defense folks that got up there, I mean, they made a beautiful case. I mean, and then it was just like all of a sudden, then each of the senators got their 10 minutes of Q&A, and they just started going after him. And as I told you that example with that the Democrat out of Charleston, yeah, and sadly he's a Citadel grad. I think he's a 2006 Citadel grad. So I graduated 89 from the Citadel, and it's kind of disappointing to see somebody literally holding the piece of paper, reading about it, and saying the word false. You can't, and it's not written in that document. And I think when you watch the tape, you kind of see Curtis is like, what are you talking about? Where did it ever say we put a false journal entry in there? So I think, it's an accounting problem. It's not a Curtis Loftus problem. And the Senate, really woke people up to the fact that, they're just trying to, it's a power grab. They wanted to somehow control that 50 or $60 billion. And I come from, dealt with some stuff in the banking world in my previous life, and just telling, just being able to redirect where the cash is custodied. If it goes from bank A to bank B, and bank B happens to be a big donor to Larry Grooms, then I think that donor is going to get even a bigger donation type stuff. So that is the type of corruption that I think we need to ferret out. We all talk Doge. We all like what's going on up in DC with Doge. The citizens are Doge. We have to get involved and actually look that type of stuff up and work it. We got to work FOIA requests. We got to work document requests. We got to get the information out. Podcasts like this, I think, are going to be critical to let people know and hear what's going on out there. It's an information war, and we've somewhat defeated the mainstream media, and everybody knows, MSNBC and CNN are all kind of on the take. But it's going on here locally too. It goes on the small scale. So we've got to get more information out there. I mean, literally, I think one of the articles the other day, there was a this 50-51 protest that the Democrats are doing. They sent us an email on Saturday asking if we had a comment from the Greenville County Republican Party, and my comment back was, I haven't even heard about it because I mean it's so insignificant to us up here. And then number two is, I think the Democrats are in obviously a lot of trouble because of their move to the radical left. But I read the article, and literally in the title it said thousands were there, but then the caption under the picture it says 200 people, and then you're looking at the video and it's like, it's just not that many. What is the truth? I mean, is it 2,000 people or 200? If you can't tell the difference between the two, it's why is your caption multiple thousands? So, it's I think I'm excited about your podcast, other people's podcasts, kind of get that information out there. And I think the more information we can get out there and educate the citizens and get them to come out and vote in the June primaries. That's one of our big initiatives here in Greenville, is to increase voter turnout in the June primaries. I think I think we're at an inflection point where we can really turn the state around, because as I've talked to other people, we are rated, and we started this 4 years ago. CPAC, the folks at CPAC have rated the state of South Carolina as the most liberal red state in the nation. And what that means is when we now have a supermajority Republican House and Senate, and we control every statewide constitutional office. But the legislation that's coming out of Columbia is worse than some Democratic states, and we've got to fix it. I mean, when we got a legislature that's sitting there saying they're going to reduce the tax rate, and it ends up 60% of the taxpayers, certainly at the bottom half, are paying more. That's a problem. And I, as a tax attorney, I kind of understand it, and I understand even there's a lot of loopholes even in the current law that favor the certain constituencies, but you don't know about it. And I'll give you one example. I got my law degree and MBA from the University of South Carolina back 93, 92 timeframe. And one of the summer projects we did for the MBA project was working with the South Carolina Department of Revenue to talk about key performance issues and how they could measure performance there at the Department of Revenue. And I remember the director at the time telling us about how they had started a test program in a particular county to educate people on the deductions that they were entitled to. And their analysis was, at the end of the day, they received less tax revenue from those counties because they had educated those individuals on what they were actually able to take as a deduction. And what did they do? They killed the program. So they look at the citizens as just a way to milk us all for more money. The budget keeps going up. They keep spending more, and we don't have a tax problem. We got a spending problem. And frankly, again, South Carolina is we got the highest marginal income tax rate in the entire Southeast. Especially for a Republican state, that's a problem.
And our roads are still in bad shape, and we still do all the spending.
It is absolutely incredible, and we'll go and visit Florida or drive through Georgia, and I don't have a particular problem with if they needed the money, but I think what is proven out is we needed reform first, and that's what everybody fought with the gas tax. We wanted reform, and once you get reform, if it turns out you actually need more money to fix our roads, that's okay. We could go along with that, but that's not what happened. They just said, well, we don't want to reform. We just need more money. And I actually went to up here one of the county meetings. Some of the counties maintain some of these their own roads, and we went into the meeting, and they literally talked about the fact that yes, it's great that we have more money from the gas tax, but guess what happened? The providers all raised their rates. So they're like, we got more money, but we're getting the same amount of roads fixed. So it just didn't work out at all. So it's been a complete mess. And I drive on our roads, and I'm like, it is quite frankly embarrassing what goes on in the state of South Carolina with roads. It really is. I used to think it was just one of those things everybody like, oh, we rah 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 roads, and that gets everybody mad. And I'm like, it's gotten to be a real problem. It's not just a talking point for to rile people up. It is a real problem. Our roads.
Potholes everywhere. Yeah, it is quite frankly very embarrassing in South Carolina.
Yes, it is. It's humiliating. I mean, we have our state is about half the size geographically of Georgia. We have about half the population. We should be, emulating them a little bit more. We should be emulating the things that I'm not necessarily a Ron DeSantis fan, not anybody that got talked into running against Trump in the primary. I'm not real excited about. But I mean, we need to be doing more of what he was doing down in Florida. And now what you're seeing down in Florida, like, times get good, and he's having to now fight his own legislature down there. So it's the legislature, and as you know, the state of South Carolina is a legislative state. Our governor is probably about number 7 on the power rankings, if you will. It's other folks that kind of run the whole show. So you there?
But, yeah, I'm hoping too that Byron Daniels he does well. I saw that he's gonna be running for governor.
Yes, it'll be interesting. Yeah, I'm excited about that. So I'm super excited about Florida just in general. Just think about what a problem it was several years ago on the presidential side. Think Florida and Ohio. They were battlegrounds, and now they seem to be pretty firm in the Republican camp. And I think what Trump has been doing over the first 100 days or whatnot, whatever day number we're on, I think it's really I think it's giving us a lot of hope, and it's actually giving us a lot of hope here at the lower levels. That is kind of one of my interviews on the Steve Bannon show the other day. What those guys were doing, they're working from the top down. We're working from the bottom up, and I'm hoping we're going to meet somewhere in the middle and just crush these people. So, what's happened in America, and certainly under the Democrats and the Biden regime, has been a problem. And just to hear, just to even the whole discussion about the illegal immigrants and all that. But I mean, it's not just a Democratic problem; it's a uniparty problem, and it's way too many Republicans have been working with the Democrats, and we need to stop that. You don't need to go along to get along. I mean, we need to sit there and say, hey, this is the Republican platform. This is what we believe in. And we need to educate people on it. And too many folks that are elected to office, you're running for office. You want to be a leader, right? Leaders don't just go along. Leaders educate the citizenry. They talk about it. They do what's right for the citizens. They don't do what's right for their reelection and what's right for their donors. And that's become what the problem is. And we teach it over here is what do these elected officials care about? Number one, getting elected, and number two, being reelected. And that's all they really concentrate on. I tell people, with our elections over here, I'm like, if you don't, I will tell you what I'm going to do. If you don't want me to do it, then vote for somebody else. I don't care, that type of thing. But I mean, it's not like I'm sitting here trying to cobble together people to vote for me. I think, we didn't have competition because I think there's so many people, they like what we're doing. We're running a hard game. We're pushing, the conservative movement. We're pushing the Trump movement, the MAGA America First movement. And then, people see Drew McKissick name his convention, the America First convention, and they get a laugh out of it. So, I mean, it's definitely not the America First state convention next Saturday. So.
Over there, they're running for the right reasons and want to make sure they do the right by their constituents. Aren't just worried about getting reelected year after year and will do whatever they can to keep that position.
That's right. That's right. So,
Uh,
and I don't blame them for part. I don't go ahead. Sorry.
that's all right. You can go and finish.
No, I just, I don't blame somebody for wanting to get reelected necessarily, but when you compromise your values, I mean, and we saw a lot of compromising of values on Monday night, with our state senate, but my fight, my wife Olga and I, we've been fighting, we got involved in this, dragged into this, quagmire of politics because of our fight for school choice. And what I saw Monday night was no different than our fight for school choice over the past 10 years. It's legislators doing what they want to do, either through a personal vendetta or for money or whatever they're doing. They're not doing right by the constituents. And our fight in school choice has just been crystal clear in the fact that I mean, we have the nation's worst rated school choice program, and literally they're trying to ramrod through again, an ESA program, which has been found unconstitutional 3 times, and they think switching it to lottery funds is gonna is gonna make it non-taxpayer dollars, which I can show you about 1,000 cases out there that say the lottery funds are taxpayer dollars. So it's amazing, putting a square peg in a round hole, but they will do whatever they want to do, and I am so frustrated that year after year after year we don't seem to accomplish anything. We don't get closed primaries. We don't get our roads fixed, as you said. We don't get school choice. We don't get our tax rates decreased. And then you got a governor that's trying to push through a guy like Simmer, and I'm like, why did he want to die on that hill with Simmer when even if 10% of the people have lost confidence in him, and I think there was a much larger percentage of that. Why would you keep pushing on that? The same thing is with our, with the elections. I mean, elections are easy to fix. And why is the state election commission fighting back and pushing back on what Laura Schar and South Carolina Safe Elections are trying to accomplish? They're just trying to give confidence back into our elected process. And there's a lot of people that, I've talked to them that say they don't want to come out and vote because they don't trust the system. And I'm like, well, that's exactly why you need to vote, because we need to make it too big to rig, kind of what I think happened in November with Donald Trump. We got to do the same thing here in South Carolina. And I will tell you, the June primaries of 2024, I think statewide we averaged 13.3%. Here in Greenville, we did a little bit better. We were at 17%. But our focus is how do we increase that turnout? If we're here in Greenville at 17%, if we can get our people out and each of our precinct ECs and presidents and precinct members can get that increase from 17% up to 22%, and if those are MAGA, America First, Trump supporting type people that really just constitutional conservatives, those types, we can flip the entire system. And we really need to do that in all 2,307 precincts in this state. And I think once we do that, we will get better legislators, and then we will get better legislation. But until then, we're just going to keep getting more of the same, because nobody ever thinks their legislator is bad. It's always somebody else's. I mean, and it frustrates me to no end. We have people up here, in Greenville, that'll say, "Oh, the problem is all these people moving into the state, coming from New York or California or Oregon or those types of places." That's not the problem. Those people, a lot of those people, I mean, there's some of them, but a lot of those people will walk in our doors, our headquarters doors here, and say, "I moved to South Carolina because I thought it was a deep red state, and I woke up and I was like, 20 years ago or 15 years ago, I feel like it was in California. And if we don't do something, we're going to go in that same direction." So, those people are actually, quite frankly, some of our best fighters and people the most engaged in the process, because they've seen it, and and they're in the same situation I am. Where do we go? Where do you move if we lose South Carolina? Where do we move? So I don't know anywhere else to go. And my family's been here since the 1600s, and I'm stubborn, so we're just going to keep fighting it out until we win this battle. I think we got a good opportunity to do that. And then, but the second thing I hear people complain about, oh, up here in the upstate, they'll say, "Oh, well, it's all these counties down on the coast." I don't buy off on that either. I mean, we have a responsibility to get people out down there too, and I think they are. And if you look at the number of Trump voters across the state, and especially in these small counties, we just got to educate them through podcasts like this, and we got to let them know what's going on. And I hope a lot of people woke up from what happened to Curtis Loftus. It was a travesty.
Definitely, yeah, and it gets blue up here too. So yeah, it's definitely not on the coast.
No,
That's for sure.
it's not. No, and let me tell you the one example I like to give to a lot of people about that. Remember a couple years ago when the House killed the boys and girls sports, Save Women's Sports Act. It was the first one. They ended up passing it later, but there were 6 Republicans on the committee in the House that killed it. three of those Republicans were members of the Greenville County Legislative Delegation. One of them was Neil Collins. One of them was Jason Elliott, and then what was the third one that Thomas Beach beat over there? But we still got Neil Collins and we still got Jason Elliott. So
Yeah, and
Cox, yes, it
yeah,
was Wes Cox.
yeah, and yeah, Neil Collins, yeah, he,
It's not just on the coast; it's up here too.
yeah. I mean, those they mentioned, they're pretty well known. So yeah, they're. I mean, they have that name recognition. It's definitely hard to beat for sure. And the one
Yep.
thing I was gonna
Yeah,
ask you too before
that's true.
we, yeah, so that's one thing I wanted to mention too before we finish tonight. Is I heard on another podcast that Barbara Arthur, she was saying that you were helping count ballots and favoring somebody, and you were running for state chairman, which I'm not sure where that information came from because, to my knowledge, you're not running for state chairman.
That's correct as of right now. We're, I mean, it if we were walking in there with 75% of the votes as we should be, we can barrel over them. But there's been enough, taint, if you will, out there, and a lot of misinformation. I mean, it baffles my mind, the fact that people will read and believe unsubstantiated claims. But that's okay. I'm not too worried about it. We got Nirvana up here in the upstate, and we got lots of friends across the state, and if Drew McKissick gets reelected, that's we'll make it the worst 2 years of his professional life. So we'll work around him. But yeah, Barbara Arthur is interesting in that. I don't know what I was invited. Obviously, Bob Federley, as the now former chair over there in Pickens, asked me to come over and just be a watcher. And so we volunteered to do that. And then when we got there, he made me the guy over the count. So, I mean, yeah, I just, we counted ballots, we double counted everything, and we ran a clean operation. I mean, yeah, you were there. I mean, we had the tables were out front. Anybody could come up and watch it, and some people did, some people didn't. But, I don't know why. I mean, does she really think I'm sitting here counting ballots and cheating in a Pickens County convention to sit there and to win a race, for state chair? That makes no sense. But I've also heard that, I've heard all kinds of other crazy stories. So I'm working. I think one of the last claims that I heard the other day is that I'm actually working with the establishment, Republicans, to keep me out of jail. So I mean, I'm like, does she not understand the establishment Republicans are the ones trying to put me in jail? So, and because those are the ones that pick the judges. So I mean, the whole thing is crazy, and it just, it's I think she's imploding on a daily basis. So it is what it is. We'll see.
Yeah. Rumors get started. Someone said the incumbent for county council paid me off so that I could help him get another term. I don't know where people get this information. It's just mind boggling.
I used to, and I will tell you, I mean, we've been dealing with it, obviously, 2019, we had Presley Stutz run for chairman up here, Greenville County, and we lost that race. That was our first foray into reorg. And then we came back in 21 and really, once we figured out the game, we trounced them. And then, but, I mean, even back in 21, I mean, they were saying some of these same things. And it's just like, it affects some people. They just won't affect that one, small 1, 2, 3%, which I think is what they tried to do to Curtis Loftus. They're trying to, impact him a little bit. And they had mailers against us making up stuff. I mean, robocalls and all that. I mean, it's amazing. But what we try to teach people is it most typically, dig deeper. You need to dig deeper on all of these things. If somebody says something, accuses somebody of something, number one, does it make sense? You have the authority to kind of question. We should question everything. And quite frankly, one of the things we teach people is don't trust anybody. Don't trust me. Don't trust them. Just, and especially when it doesn't make any sense, just dig deeper. And most people just don't have the time or energy to do it. They got a life, and they're not like you and I, that we do this way too much. But does it make sense that I'm over there cheating votes in Pickens County for the chair race? I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever. When in the converse, you've got Drew McKissick actually ramrodding through some of these other county conventions. It's just That's how some people think they get ahead, is by tearing down other people, and we don't necessarily believe in that. But we do believe in exposing the truth and teaching people, and we want people to learn from themselves. So not be manipulated mentally, as we all have for decades.
So, is there anything else you'd like to mention to our viewers while we're on the air?
No, I mean, kind of just think about it over the next 2 years. Any of your viewers that have not participated in reorg, they need to get involved. Get involved in your local party, especially try to find out who the MAGA America First people are. If you have any questions, reach out to us here at the Greenville GOP. And I guess I neglected to mention I'm also associated or a founder of a myscgop.com or .news. If you'd like to go on there, we put a lot of information out there. But what we want to do is get more people involved. And until we get more people involved, civically engaged, we're going to just get more and more of the same. So just get out there, learn, reach out to us, team at greenvillegop.com or either team at myscgop.com. We'll be more than happy to help you and point you in the right direction.
Yep.
If you're a Trump supporter.
Yeah. Yeah, that all starts down at the grassroots. That's regardless what political affiliation you are, if you want to get good people in there, you got to start with the involvement, get grassroots involved.
That's right. That's exactly right. So that's what we're doing.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, it was a pleasure having you on, and I hope you have a good time at the state convention.
All right. Thanks, Mason. We appreciate your time. See you, buddy.
And that concludes our show for this evening. If you have not already, please feel free to click like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for future updates, and also follow our Facebook page as well. I hope that everyone has had a great work week so far. And don't go away just yet, because tomorrow night we have Miss Barbara Arthur on our show, and she's challenging incumbent Drew McKissick for state chairman next Saturday at the state convention in Columbia. So we'll hear what she has to say for her plans for South Carolina if elected. So thank you again for tuning in tonight, and hope everyone has a good evening. Good night to all, and God bless America. Thank you.